Have you ever just stopped to consider what actually justifies your existence? I mean, really think about it. Is a human life measured merely by the fact that we're breathing, eating, and, just taking up space? Or is there this deeper philosophical worth that we're actually required to earn?
Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to translate and unpack some truly profound ancient Sanskrit philosophy. And let me tell you, this stuff fundamentally challenges our modern assumptions about success, legacy, and what it actually means to live a worthy life. We're looking at some stark, maybe even slightly harsh ancient truths that just might completely change the way you view your daily actions.
Okay, let's dive into this beautiful imagery. You see a sage sitting beneath a sprawling tree unrolling a scroll of knowledge. And this perfectly captures the ancient pursuit we're exploring today, which is discovering the true value of a human life. In ancient texts, like the Panchatantra, human purpose wasn't about simply surviving or, accumulating a bunch of wealth. It was an active, rigorous pursuit of character and education.
Section 1. The baseline of purpose, defining human utility.
So, this ancient Sanskrit verse right here, it asks a really striking, actually almost uncomfortable question about what exactly justifies our being here. It totally forces us to confront the stark difference between merely existing and actually fulfilling our potential.
And this brilliantly illustrates the translation. The ancient sages point out that, much like a cow that neither calves nor gives milk is biologically alive but utterly unfulfilled in its purpose, a human being without wisdom or devotion lacks true philosophical purpose. Think about it. You can have all the biological markers of life, standing around in a grand room, but without the light of knowledge and that drive to learn, the ancients argue you're missing the entire point of being human.
Section 2. Defining true human worth. The required outputs. So, if biological existence isn't enough, what are the actual required outputs for human worth? Well, the texts give us a crystal clear formula, starting with the first pillar, Ved 1. This demands that we actively cultivate our intellect and pursue wisdom. And notice I said actively. It's not passive. It's not just about going to school once and being done. It's a lifelong, deliberate sharpening of your mental acuity. Then we have the second pillar, which is bhaktiman. This requires us to develop strong character, devotion, and a real commitment to a higher duty. Because, let's face it, intelligence alone just isn't enough if it isn't anchored by moral integrity and a sense of responsibility to something way bigger than yourself.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how these traits must be actively passed across generations. You see the elder handing down the glowing scroll of Vidwan, that's the wisdom, to the child, while their hands are clasped in the devotion of bhaktiman. In this ancient framework, a person's worth is entirely philosophical. Basically, without learning and a sense of higher duty, the incredible privilege of being human remains completely unfulfilled.
Section 3. Consequences of the unfulfilled. Harsh realities.
I really want you to take a second and just absorb the shocking weight of this statement from the ancient texts. Between the unborn, the dead, and the foolish, the first two are better than the last. Man, that is a heavy, uncompromising perspective. Essentially, the ancients are saying, look, if you aren't going to cultivate your mind and character, they would literally rather you were dead. Yeah, ouch.
This visual maps out that exact startling hierarchy. Over on the left, we've got the golden door of the unborn. In the center, the peaceful monument of the dead. And on the right, the stormy, completely desolate path of the fool. These ancient sages literally rank those who never even existed and those who have passed away vastly above a living person who just wanders down the path of ignorance.
Section 4. The architecture of grief. Mapping sorrow. Why on earth would they rank the dead above the foolish, you ask? Well, the brutal logic is mapped out right here, and it comes down to frequency and impact. An unborn child causes a single pang of mild sorrow for what was never realized, right? The dead cause a single, devastating, tragic loss, which leads to mourning, sure, but eventually closure. But the fool, they bring active ignorance. The frequency of their grief is what the texts call pade pade, which literally translates to step by step. It's just continuous, unending pain for absolutely everyone around them. Seeing this illustrated really brings the Panchatantra's harsh logic to life. Failing to gain wisdom doesn't just leave you in some neutral, harmless state. No, it transforms you into an active burden. Look over at the right side of the path. The foolish person is creating active chaos. They're causing misery step by step, day after day, to their family and to their whole society.
Section 5. Blueprint for a worthy life.
the ancient formula.
Which brings us to the ultimate ancient formula for a life well lived. This literal equation summarizes everything we've explored in this explainer today. Take your mere biological existence. Subtract wisdom and devotion. And what are you left with? You don't just hit zero. You become an active societal burden. You literally become a negative vector of suffering for the world.
And this builds into a really complete, contrasting worldview. Nature only demands biological output, like the barren void and the mere physical survival of the animal on the left. But humanity? Humanity demands cultivated character. If you fail to develop your intellect and devotion, you just kind of fall into that void. But by actively learning and pouring out wisdom, you step right into the light of your true purpose on the right.
Ultimately, the ancient texts are telling us that true wealth isn't simply about securing descendants or hoarding up a bunch of resources. True wealth is raising minds that are learned and hearts that are devoted. This radiant flame resting on the ancient texts represents that wisdom. It's absolutely crucial, because it is the only real safeguard we have against becoming that lifelong burden to the world. It's the light that justifies our place on this earth.
So I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to really reflect on as you go about your day. Look at your own daily output. Are we just biologically existing, taking up space and resources? Or are we actively, intentionally cultivating the wisdom and philosophical character required for a truly worthy life? Are you building a legacy of wisdom, or are you stepping, pate, toward becoming a continuous burden? The choice, according to the ancients anyway, is entirely in your hands.